Thanks everyone for joining us tonight. We really appreciate your coming and having interest in exploring the 2022-23 electric vehicle models with the Green Energy Consumers Alliance and their Drive Green team. There will be lots of times for question and answers at the end of the presentation, so please put your questions in the chat. And I think, Ellen, you want to say a few words?
Yeah, so I want to welcome everybody. This event is being co-sponsored by Energize Wayland, the Jewish Climate Action Network, Green Newton, Lexington, Sustainable Medfield, folks in Harvard. So it's really our effort as a variety of communities working with Mass Energize to begin to work more collectively to host events that we all invite each other to. So each of those communities that I just mentioned has a community engagement software platform. And Kat will put in the chat. If you're unfamiliar with them, you can go to this link and look for your community and see if you can, if we have a software platform that will be sharing information about the EVs and other actions you can take at the residential level. And also Energize Acton is also a co-sponsor. Thank you, Karen, for reminding me of that. I knew I was going to forget somebody. So thank you, all these communities, for working together. And we're just super excited to have Larry and Devin from the Green Energy Consumers Alliance. Shelley will say a little bit more about what they're going to say and how we run around this. So thanks very much.
Okay, so our speakers tonight are Larry Cretion, the Executive Director of Green Energy Consumer Alliance, whose mission is to harness the power of consumers to accelerate the transition to a low-carbon economy, and Devin DiLibero, the Drive Green Coordinator for the Drive Green program, which is an electric vehicle discount program that makes going electric easier for you. So let's start and hear how easy it is to become electric.
Okay, give me 1 second and I will share my screen. Okay, Larry, take it away.
Thank you, Devin and Shelley and everybody else. Thanks for having Devin and I tonight. This is a virtual event, of course. We will try to showcase some really cool new EVs, some that are just hitting the market and that some we know are on the way. Next slide, Devin. So I'm the Executive Director of the organization, and Devin is our crack EV program coordinator. If you go to our website, greenenergyconsumers.org/drivegreen, you'll see how much hard work she's put into making information available and helpful to consumers who are interested in electric vehicles. Next slide. I want to brag about the fact that our organization is in 2022 is celebrating its 40th year. I've been here with the organization for 22 years, and it's been my pleasure. If you go to our website, you'll see we do a variety of things. Our main gig essentially is trying to find out how consumers can tap into an energy solution, and we create a buyers group, and that's what we're doing with Drive Green. We're also doing a lot of public policy advocacy, and I'll explain that in the next slide. As you probably know, there's a big bill before the Massachusetts State Senate, Senate Bill number 2819. It's called an Act Driving Climate Policy Forward. It's the Senate's version of a climate bill. Even though they did one in 2021, they're doing another one. The House passed a bill about offshore wind primarily a couple months ago, and the two bodies will end up working together to hash out their differences and come up with one bill, hopefully by the end of June or July. Senate Bill 2819 is up for grabs right now, where you can impact how it all ends. It's a good bill overall, just like the House bill was, but there's a lot of amendments. I think there's 155 proposed amendments to Senate Bill 2819. There's two we wrote. Senator Eldridge, who I think represents a good number of people on this call, is offering two amendments for us. One is it would provide EV drivers with rebates for charging at off-peak hours, say 9 p.m. to 9 a.m., and also on weekends. Amendment number 117 would establish a goal by which newly registered cars would have to be electric as of 2030. It's not a mandate, but the intent of the amendment is to get the state focused on that because in order to achieve our greenhouse gas reduction goals that was set up by the roadmap bill last year, we have to start turning over the vehicle fleet. There's over 5 million light-duty vehicles in Massachusetts, and we need about 1 million of them to be electric by 2030, according to all the experts. So if you go to this website, we've created an ability for you to write a letter to your senator to support the bill and the amendments that we've highlighted. Plus, we list a few other amendments. There are other good amendments regarding buildings that you might be interested in. So you can click on that after we email it to you. We'll get that right out to you. And you can read the bill if you go to the Massachusetts legislature website in all 155 amendments. And then I think it's off to Devin to start talking about all the cool cars. There you go.
Okay, not quite yet. We're not talking about cool cars yet. I want to set the scene for what the market actually looks like right now and what it could look like in the future. So talking about inventory and the state of the market. So many of you might be aware that there is a global chip shortage happening right now. This shortage happened and can be traced back to early 2020 when overall demand for cars declined during the lockdown. And so as a result, manufacturers decided we're going to focus on other products like consumer electronics, for example, iPhones. And so there's no definitive end in sight. I've been reading up on it, and some experts have varying opinions on when this might end. Some think it might end as early as late this year, and some think it'll end in 2023 or beyond. And so companies like Intel, Texas Instrument, and Samsung have plans to build new plants to up this supply, but that will take some time, and those plants are going to be built this year. And then there's also federal action that is being taken at the moment to combat some of the chip shortage and, as a result, inventory shortage. So the U.S. Innovation and Competition Act of 2021 is also known as USICA, and it was passed by the Senate in 2021, but the House wanted to write its own version of the bill, which is called Rebuilding Economies and Creating Opportunities for More People to Excel, which is better known as Recompete. The purpose of both pieces of legislation is to form and implement economic development strategies in distressed labor markets and communities to boost long-term economic growth and create lasting quality jobs. And so according to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, a main purpose of this legislation is to help increase our domestic manufacturing and help address the critical chip shortage and grow our economy by investing in American innovation. So now both pieces of legislation have kind of been reconciled, and Congress is kind of nailing down details this week. They're supposed to figure it out before Easter break. And this is really important because this legislation could include $52 billion in investment in revitalizing U.S. semiconductor industry, also known as chips. And so if you want to look out for this and this legislation, see what's happening with it. It's now being called COMPETES, or America Creating Opportunities, Preeminence in Technology and Economic Strength. And then overall, the chip shortage has increased EV prices as well as prices for all vehicles. It has turned car buying into pre-ordering instead of buying something on a lot, typically speaking. And it has pushed release dates for certain cars that were upcoming. For example, the Nissan Ariya was something that we were all really excited about. It was supposed to be released last year and about like end of summer, early fall, and now it is going to be released this year around the same time. And so green energy consumers, we have kind of pivoted a little bit to to address this change in the market. So all the dealerships associated with our EV shopping tool have now offered pre-order options instead of discount options, unfortunately, because they can't offer discounts on inventory they do not have. So it's still a way to connect people with these dealerships and potentially get on their way to getting one of these cars. And then we also developed a wait list. So we found in 2021, there were 3 cars that folks were really, really excited about, and I will talk later in this presentation about each one of them. And those are the VW ID4, the Toyota RAV4 Prime, and the Mustang Mach-E. So people will sign up for this waitlist on our website, and the idea is to take this information and present it to dealers to try to get folks into these cars, and also for us just to gauge what the market and the demand is like and potentially recruit these types of dealers to our program. So this is a good place to stop before I go into the new and coming soon vehicles. So if there are any questions off the bat, now would be a fantastic time. I can only see a few people at a time, so I don't know how you want to triage questions.
Oh, let's just do them in the chat. People can put them in the chat, or if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, nothing there just yet.
So why don't you keep going? Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so the rest of the presentation will be about all the new and coming soon cars that we're all so excited about. I've divided it up into sedans and crossovers, then SUVs, and then trucks and more. And I hope you don't hear that dog in the background, but I can't make any promises. Okay. So the Hyundai Ioniq 5 is actually a car that's available now, and folks are really excited about it. It's one of the first cars under the Ioniq brand that is going to be purely electric for Hyundai. They're starting, it's going to be like Ioniq 5, Ioniq 6, so on and so forth. And so it ranges in MSRP from $43,650 to about $50,000. The electric range can range anywhere from 256 miles to 303 miles. And the reason that it's different is because if you get the rear wheel drive option, you will typically have 256 miles of range, as opposed to the all-wheel drive option, which, I'm sorry, rear wheel drive will be 303 miles, and the all-wheel drive will be 256 because it takes more energy to power the car with all-wheel drive. And then charging is pretty great. So for level 2, you can charge this car in about 6 hours, and that's something that you can get installed at your home, or you can charge on the go or out and about. DC fast charging, that can charge the car 10% to 80% in 18 minutes, but that is with the 350 kilowatt charger. So be mindful that not all DC fast chargers have the capability of charging at that rate. So it's going to charge at whatever rate the charger can actually put out. And then the Polestar 2 is out now, and something you can order on their website. So Polestar is kind of like Tesla in that they don't actually have dealerships. It's more like a store. So they'll have something for you to test drive, but not necessarily something for you to take home that day. You can order it on their website and get it in about 2 weeks. Again, the range depends on what kind of model you're getting. So if you're getting the drivetrain of a front wheel drive, you'll have most likely 270 miles for your range. And if you get all-wheel drive, it's going to be closer to 230. The all-wheel drive is available right now, but the four-wheel drive, front wheel drive is not. And then the level 2 will charge in a little under 7 hours. And if you DC fast charge, it will charge in about an hour and a half. So the Ford Mustang Mach-E is one of those cars that people are really, really excited about. There's actually forums about it. So if you're interested in the Mach-E, I would definitely check that out. It is also one of those cars that dealers are charging significantly over, can sometimes charge significantly over MSRP. So do your research. But typically this car should cost you anywhere from about $44,000 to $62,000. The range is 247 to 270 miles. And again, that depends on the drivetrain. The Mach-E is calling their all-wheel drive the E all-wheel drive. which is a fun little tidbit. The level 2 will give you a full charge in 13 hours. And for DC fast charging, in about 50 minutes, you'll get 80% of charge, which is pretty great. And so right now, only the Select and GT models are available, but other trim levels will be available soon. And like I said, remember how I said Hyundai is doing the Ioniq 5, 6 thing? Here's the 6. So the MSRP is estimated at $42,000. That's the best guess for now. And the electric range is about 300 miles. The drivetrain is all-wheel drive, which is really great because I know a lot of people are concerned about all-wheel drive. And with it being a smaller and closer to the ground car, it's also a benefit. Like the Hyundai Ioniq 5, it can charge a DC fast charging rate of 80% in 18 minutes. And its release date it'll be on sale in the US by 2023. And so Hyundai is making this car to be comparable to the Tesla Model 3 and really compete in that market. And we'll see if they can reach Tesla numbers. So the Chevy Equinox is a crossover. I know it looks like it could be a big SUV, but it's really one of the smaller ones. And so that is something that we still don't have like direct pricing on. It's estimated as being $30,000 to $40,000 with an electric range of approximately 300 miles or more. I think I saw that some people are estimating it could be as little as 300 miles of range and as much as almost 400 miles of range. So definitely keep your, if you're interested in that car, get on wait lists and things like that to get updates. There will be a front wheel drive and an all wheel drive option. The level 2 will give you 52 miles of range per hour, which is just insane. And the DC fast charging can charge at a rate of 150 kilowatts or 80% charge in 9 minutes. And that will be available in fall of 2023 if everything goes well. And so you cannot reserve this car at this time. So if you go on the manufacturer's website, you can just sign up for like a mailing list to go and get updates. And now we're going to talk about SUVs, which I feel like is everybody's favorite category. Okay, so I talked about the Nissan Ariya earlier. It was supposed to be released last year. It's going to be released sometime this year. We're really excited about this car. Something to note is that Nissan typically DC fast charged their cars using a CHAdeMO port, but then they've seen how the American and European markets are kind of shifting towards the CCS model of DC
Hey,
fast.
Devin, this is
Yeah.
Ellen. You might need to explain what you just said, those acronyms. I'm not sure everybody knows what you just meant.
Okay, I will. I'm getting there. So they do CCS typically in American and European markets. So Nissan has decided that they're switching the Nissan Ariya to this model, so it'll be easier to DC fast charge because there's going to be more stations that you are compatible with your charging port. So for DC fast charging, typically there are 2 charging ports. So one is CHAdeMO, which was typically used with Asian manufactured cars, and one is CCS or J1772 combo. It's known by both of those names. And that's important to know because that's when you're using apps like PlugShare or ChargePoint or whatever to try to find charging on the go. You need to know those things because your car needs to be, excuse me, the port on your car needs to be compatible with the charger that you're going to, if that makes sense. Let's see. Oh, another thing to note is that not all battery electric vehicles come with DC fast charging capabilities standard in the car. Most do, but not all. So for example, the Chevy Bolt didn't come standard with DC fast charging capabilities, and it's not something that you can have then put into the car. It has to come made as part of the car. So just double check if you want to DC fast charge your car that it has the ability to do so. Another note on that is that plug-in hybrid cars typically do not have the capability to DC fast charge because the idea is that level 2 is good enough and that you have that gas backup to rely on. So you don't really need a DC fast charging. So back to the Nissan Ariya. The range of price is anywhere from about 46,000 to about 59,000. The electric range is about 300 miles with a drivetrain or front wheel drive. For charging, you can get a level 2 charging in 12 hours at 87 kilowatt and 10 hours for the 63 kilowatt battery. So there will be 2 different types of batteries. And I don't know, hold on, let me see what my notes say. So there is the ability to extend your range with these vehicles. So you can potentially just have the 63 kilowatt battery, or you can pay more and get the 87 kilowatt battery. So for the DC fast charging, you can charge from 10% to 80% in 45 minutes with a 30 kilowatt charger. And release date is that reservations are open now, and reservations come with a $500 refundable deposit. And you can, the first customers are expected to get their cars in the early fall. So I don't know if you order it now, what that date will be, but hopefully around that time. And then there's a Toyota Busy 4X. I don't know if that's how they want to say it, but that's how I'm saying it for now. So the MSRP is still estimated. It's about $37,000. Its electric range comes with about 250 miles, and it will be available in 2 different drivetrains, so front wheel drive and all wheel drive. To get a full level 2 charge, it'll be 12 hours and 45 minutes. Into DC fast charge, you can get 32 minutes, full charge in 32 minutes with 150 kilowatt capacity. And then their release date is expected to be mid-2022. But it's been the case that a lot of manufacturers will say they have a certain date and then they keep pushing it. So just keep your eye on that if that's a car that you're interested in. And then we have the Kia EV6. So this is available at dealerships, but it does depend on the inventory levels. So you might need to order the car in advance. The MSRP is anywhere from 41,000 to about 56, and then it has 232 miles to 310 miles of range, which all of these cars have really good ranges on them so far. And then the drivetrain could be either all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive, and that's depending on the trim. Which I won't go into right now. And then charging level, so it seems like you can get a full charge in 7 hours, and then DC fast charge up to 80% in 18 minutes. And what's really cool about this car, which I have to do more research on if they all come standard with this, but it will offer bi-directional power support. So potentially, like, it could charge your home in a power outage if you have the appropriate equipment to do that. So the appropriate, I think you can have like a charger installed at your home that has the capability to do both, but it would have to be a special charger. And Cadillac is going to be making its debut on the market with the Cadillac Lyriq. So that'll come in around $60,000 with an electric range of about 300 miles. Again, it'll offer 2 different types of drivetrain. And the charging will, for level 2, could be 52 miles of range per hour. And for DC fast charging, you can get 76 miles of range in 10 minutes. So what's really great about this, if you're interested, you can be one of the first to order these cars because dealers are starting to take orders as soon as May 19th. So the BMW iX, I included the X Drive 50 because it's actually only available, excuse me, in 1 trim as of right now. And this trim can range in price anywhere from around $83,000 to about $94,000 because, again, it's a BMW, so they're pricey. The range is up to about 324 miles, and they're only offering it in all-wheel drive. For level 2 charging, you can get 0 to 100% in 12 hours with the 9.6 kilowatt charger. And for DC fast charging, you can get 20 to 80% in 20 minutes with a 150 kilowatt charger. And then it's available now. So you can go to your local dealership, or you can potentially pre-order it if they don't have it on the lot, and you can get yourself one of these. Toyota RAV4 Prime is one of those cars that's on our wait list and came out last year. It's the car that I really like and would like to buy. And so that car is available for MSRP of around $40,000 to about $43,000. The electric range is 42 miles, and then it has a gas backup range of 558 miles. The drivetrain is all-wheel drive, and you can charge at a level 2 in 4.5 hours with public charging, or 2.5 hours with a special 6.6 kilowatt onboard charger. And then obviously it's available now. Inventory is moving super quick with these cars. Most of the cars are on pre-order, and what you see in the lot is usually either something that's already claimed or something that somebody said that they don't want anymore, and so it'll be available but snatched really soon. Excuse me. Dealers also have their own wait lists, so you can put your name on a wait list as well. So if someone says like, I don't want this car, you could be in that line. So just something to consider. And then the Kia Sportage plug-in hybrid is going to be released in late 2022 if all goes well. Its estimated MSRP is 35,000 miles, and it has an electric range of 32 miles. Unfortunately, I was not able to find what the gas range would be on this vehicle, but it does obviously have a gas backup, so you'd be fine. It comes in all-wheel drive, and then the charging will take 2 hours for a full charge on level 2. And as a reminder, because it's a plug-in hybrid, it doesn't have DC fast charging capabilities. Okay, we got to our first Rivian. So Rivian is a company that I have been watching, and I'm sure Larry's been watching for quite some time. Another company that's been pushing their release dates, but they have the Rivian R1S, which is their SUV. And the deliveries have finally just started. So people are really excited about that. It is a little bit pricey, and then it ranges anywhere from about $72,000 to $78,000. And then the electric range is anywhere from 260 to 320 plus miles. It's all-wheel drive. Charging is level 2, and it gets 25 miles of range in 1 hour with the 11.5 kilowatt charger. And DC fast charging is 120 miles of range in 20 minutes with a 200 kilowatt charger, or with a 300 kilowatt plus charger, which is expected in the future, you could get it at even faster of a rate. Rivian is pretty cool in that I've heard that they're trying to start their own charging network similar to Tesla, but I believe that their ports will be compatible to the rest of the car. So it'll be like CCS charging ports and things like that. Subaru Solterra is the second EV that Subaru is offering, and it's the first battery electric vehicle. It is estimated to be an MSRP of $37,000 with an electric range of 220 plus miles. And like all Subarus, it's an all-wheel drive. I wasn't able to find level 2 charging rates, but for DC fast charging, it charges up to 80% capacity in under an hour with a 150 kilowatt charger. And so this will go on sale mid-2022, but with prices still being estimated, I'm thinking it might be a little bit longer. So stay tuned if you want your own Subaru. And now we're into trucks, which is even more exciting somehow than SUVs. So the Jeep Wrangler 4xe is actually available now, and you can order it or try to find one on the lots. So it does vary in price from around $53,000 to about $59,000. It's a plug-in hybrid, so it gets only about 22 miles of charge and then 348 miles of gas range. What you want to know about this car is that since most if not all of you are Massachusetts residents, this car will not qualify for the More EV rebate because it doesn't get 25 miles or more of range. Excuse me. And I'm not sure what it will qualify for the federal tax incentive, but you should definitely check that out. It also is a 4-wheel drive, and it can charge fully in 2 hours. The F-150 Lightning, I hope that some of you have seen the really cool commercials about the F-150 Lightning. We're really excited about it. So the base model can run you around $40,000, and then it can get really crazy and run all the way up to about $91,000. The electric range is anywhere from 230 to 300 miles. It's a 4-wheel drive truck, and charging will give you 14 miles of range per hour using a 7-kilowatt charger. As far as DC fast charging, you can get 15 to 80% in 44 minutes with a 150 kilowatt charger. Something I should have probably explained earlier is a lot of these DC fast charging figures say whatever to 80%. After 80%, the rate of charge significantly slows for all of these cars, just because that's the nature of batteries. So that's just something to point out, and that's why we say to 80% a lot of the time. What's really cool about the F-150 Lightning is that it can generate enough electricity to power your home and charge other EVs with the bidirectional charging, which we talked about with the previous car. I think it was the EV6, if I'm not mistaken. And so that will also require you to install some special equipment in your home if that's something that you want. So release date is production for deliveries to begin in late 2022. So hopefully you'll see them in 2023. And then you have the Chevy Silverado EV. Again, a lot of these trucks vary significantly in price. So it could be anywhere from $40,000 to $105,000. And so that would probably include different like range extenders and different trim levels and all the different bells and whistles that could come with it. The electric range is supposed to be about 400 miles, and it's a 4-wheel drive truck. For DC fast charging, you could get 100 miles of range in 10 minutes with the 350 kilowatt charger. And Larry could probably speak to this better than I can, but I think, is it Electrify America is trying to do a lot of 350 kilowatt chargers?
Yes, and we'll start seeing more of those on the highways, and that's a question I'll be answering in a bit.
Okay. And so this car is likely to be released in fall of 2023, so be on the lookout. Okay, and Tesla Cybertruck. I know this was announced, I think maybe 2 years ago now, and people are really excited about it. This truck could range anywhere from about 40,000 to 70,000. I would argue that that might be even more. We've been keeping an eye on Tesla prices, and they have gone up every quarter, sometimes by about $10,000. So keep an eye on that if that's something you want to consider. This truck can get on a range of anywhere from 250 to 500 miles, and that'll depend on the model and the packages and stuff that you get. It's available on 2 different drivetrains, rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. And its full charge on level 2 is 21.5 hours. So that's a significant amount of time. And then for DC fast charging, you can get 10 to 80% in 44 minutes with a 250 kilowatt charger. Tesla does have its own charging network, which I'm sure a bunch of you know about. And so their charging network, I'm sure, will be able to handle a 250 kilowatt rate of charge. And it is expected to enter production in 2023. So stay tuned for updates on that. Now we get to our second and final Rivian. So it's the R1T, which is a really cool truck. So that can range in price anywhere from $67,500 to about $73,000. And then there's the electric range of 260 miles to anywhere to like 400 plus miles. It's all-wheel drive. They like to think that they're the fastest pickup truck to date, but I'm sure another truck company will outdo them. But right now it's 60 miles per hour in 3.3 seconds. And as far as DC fast charging, you can get 140 miles of range in 20 minutes with a 200 kilowatt charger. And with a 300 plus kilowatt charger expected in the future, you can probably get even less time needed to charge. And then deliveries for this car expected between now and September of 2022. If you were interested in Rivian, I believe it's on Apple TV. There's this thing with Ewan McGregor where they went from, I think, South America all the way to like California with 2 Rivians and then their and then live wire motorcycles. So it might be fun to look at and follow along. And then finally, this is the more in the trucks and more section. The VW ID Buzz. For those of you who liked the Volkswagen bus, this is for you. It's not going to come out for a little while, probably not until 2024 in the US, which is unfortunate. But its MSRP is estimated at about $40,000, and it is expected to get 260 miles of range. It will come with either rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive capabilities. For DC fast charging, it can charge from 5 to 80% in 30 minutes with the 150 kilowatt charger. And it will include bidirectional charging capabilities, which we talked about with a couple other cars that early in the presentation. And that's it. I hope you found a car that you're interested in and that you like. If you have more questions on any specific car, I will try to answer it, but I am by no means an expert in the nitty-gritty details just quite yet of certain models. So with that, I will turn it over to questions.
Devin, I'll start answering some questions.
Can you maybe stop sharing your screen, Devin, then we can see more. That'd be awesome.
I'll start answering some questions, and then while I'm doing that, Devin, you can be looking for more. So basically, what I took note of, let me back up. Tonight we highlighted cars that are coming over the next year or so. We didn't present about cars that already exist. As you know, the Tesla has several models. Chevrolet Bolt is one. I have a Chevrolet Bolt. I have a Chevrolet Volt at home. There's the Nissan Leaf. There's many, many more that already exist. One point I want to make is everybody I know that has an electric car likes their car. They've studied it. They've made a choice. That I've not found anyone who has buyer's remorse. But what's cool about tonight is you're seeing a whole lot of new makes and models of different sizes. So basically, the message we're trying to get across is that there's something for everybody. So one question was, could we talk about leasing as well as buying? With all these cars, for the most part, you can talk to a dealership about leasing the car. A couple of years ago, before the computer chip problem, a lot of times it made the lease prices were pretty low. But now they're generally pretty high right now because of the inventory question. And so if you're interested in the cars that we showed you tonight, you can talk to a dealer about either leasing or buying. One question was about the state rebate. The state has a program called More EV. You could Google More EV in Massachusetts rebates, and that is available to electric cars that have a selling price of $50,000 or less. So there were a few cars we showed you tonight that would be eligible for the state rebate, and but many would not. The state rebate is about $2,500 for a fully electric car. We should also point out that you can get a federal tax credit up to $7,500 for an electric car. However, it's not available to General Motors or to Tesla because the current law in Washington says once a car maker has sold over 200,000 electric cars, it's ineligible. Toyota is still eligible, but may not be eligible for many more months. They might get to their 200,000 number. We are hoping that Congress will pass something President Biden has proposed, which is to change that rule and allow General Motors, Tesla, and any other car maker to sell more than 200,000. But when you factor that in, these cars, when you factor in the federal tax credit and the state rebate, they become more affordable than the prices that we showed you, which was the manufacturer's suggested retail price. Someone was asking about how do we charge a car on the highway? One question was, how about long drives to Canada? You should look up, you can look on your website, look for a website called PlugShare, and you can get an app. Those of us who have electric cars have an app on our phone that will enable us to find charging stations on a road trip. And you can use the app to actually make a plan to get from here to anywhere. And
Larry,
so, yep.
I just want to jump in there. I've heard from a lot of EV owners who prefer an app called A Better Route Planner for long distance drives. I feel like everybody I've talked to recently who's done a long distance drive has talked about A Better Route Planner, and it can factor in things like the weight of your car and just like the weather and all these crazy things that you wouldn't even think about. So that is something that you want to think about when you're doing that. And I want to circle back to more EV, which is the state rebate. Larry did say that $2,500 is available for a battery electric vehicle. But for a plug-in hybrid, it's $1,500. And again, it has to be 25 miles of range or more. And if you want this rebate, you have to sign up on the website and fill out all the paperwork within 3 months of purchase of this vehicle. Or
just on this question, Larry, of range, I'm looking just to hear some different voices. I don't know, Doug, if you want to unmute yourself and ask your question about chargers. Just nice. Doug
Sure.
Saker, can you unmute?
Yeah, hi there. Yeah, I was just wondering just how Devin listed all these different chargers. And so I'm assuming on these websites or apps you're talking about, like A Better Route Planner, they must tell you whether they have 200 kW or 150 kW or what.
Exactly. They do. They'll tell you if it's what's called level 2, which is 240 volts, or if it's a fast charger and at what level, like you said, 150 kilowatts or something different. Not only that, the apps will also probably A Better Route Planner does it, but PlugShare will also they have a crowdsourcing rating of the station, so you can see whether or not it's got a good rating, meaning that it's always working properly and all that. So an app like that, as the Chevy owner, Chevy also has an app that is pretty useful, telling you about where the charging stations are and what they're like. So those things are kind of essential. So you would know on your trip what you have in front of you as you go.
I was just going to ask Kat's question too, is, do they tell you how many chargers there are empty, or could you arrive and they'd all be full?
They can tell you how many are in use even, and
Okay.
are empty. Yes, absolutely.
Great.
Yep.
And I think, Doug, you had a question in there too. On the highways, are they really a lot of these very fast chargers now? Is that getting built out?
There are more than people think, but not as many as we need. And the good news is that in Massachusetts, the utilities are asking the state for permission to help build out more charging stations on highways in particular. And other states are doing the same thing. And then there's federal money. The infrastructure bill had money for chargers, and the passed in Washington. I took a road trip last August to the middle of Maine, and there was plenty of fast charging available for me as I went. So it might depend a lot on your route, but I would say it's only getting better.
We also have a couple blogs up on our website, which I'll try to find a link to in a second, from EV owners who have taken long distance trips. We have someone actually who drives a Kia Niro EV, which I saw a question about that. And he frequently takes long distance trips like national parks out west, and sometimes like more locally in like New York and stuff. And so it is doable. And we also had someone who moved from Boston to to Colorado this past year, and he documented everything about his trip getting to Colorado in his Chevy Bolt. So I will try to find those links and send them out.
You know, just Larry, as you're doing charging, I see the question from Susan just on, Susan, it's just nice to hear different voices. Susan Evans, can you unmute and just ask this question? Because we're really about charging questions. Maybe she's not there. Susan, well, I'll ask it.
Yeah.
You see it? Can you ask
Yeah.
your question, Susan? Yeah.
Yeah, are the charging connections standard across all the models?
No, but they're getting there. One thing that's a little frustrating is that Tesla has had what they call a supercharging network, and Tesla owners love that. They have if you have a Tesla, one advantage of it is that network that they have, where it's fairly easy to find a station. They've built a lot of them, and they charge fast. The most cars that are American or European are a different charging system called CCS. Those are pretty prevalent. Some Asian made cars like Nissan have been yet another system, but now they're moving towards that CCS system. And so it's going, that part will get better. And I'm pretty sure that, am I right, Devin, that they're making adapters so that at some point people who have don't have a Tesla would be able to use a Tesla charging station? Isn't that coming?
Yeah, I like Elon Musk tweeted about it a while ago, but I don't know if it's actually happening
Yeah.
or when it's actually happening.
Okay, and how about around in the Acton area? I know there's a charging station at the Boxborough Library, but other locations around Acton?
That's one where I would have to check my app, to be honest with you.
Okay, and how much does it cost to get a charge?
To get a charge. Well, I'll start with this. Most people today who have electric cars are able to charge at home with either 110 volts, which is just your general power that you can, if you have an exterior outlet. And I started off with that. And that the electricity that you would pay at home is cheaper to charge a car than it would be to buy gasoline by quite a bit. It's with today's gasoline prices, you're essentially cutting your fuel cost in half. If you were to, what a lot of people do though, for those of us who have all electric cars, is buy what's called a level 2 charger. Costs about $500 for the equipment, and then maybe a few $100s more to have it installed by an electrician. And the cost of installation can vary based upon what kind of electrical service you have at your house. But again, after you've installed that unit, the electricity rate is still whatever you're paying at home will be cheaper than running it on gasoline.
I think you guys once said in one of our previous webinars, Larry, it's like you estimated, this was before the recent gas price, like 3 cents less a mile to charge your EV versus buy the gas. I suspect that differentials increase with gas now being well over $4 a gallon. I don't know, Devin, you look like you want to jump in on that point.
I do. So I'm trying to find, we have math that one of my coworkers did on this right now, and I'm trying to find where that lives so I can show it to you all, but it is significantly less. I think it's like 2 something for an e-gallon equivalent. And then in Rhode Island, it's even less because in Massachusetts, you guys have a little bit higher electricity rates. So I'm trying to find that if I can, and I will put in the chat.
And we can also send that out.
She recently did the math on a blog.
Maybe when you guys send us the slides, if you can add a slide with that, then when we do the deck, we can include it. That would be awesome, Devin. So I don't know, Shelley, was there another question you want to pull out, or do you have, there's a zillion in here, Larry, so I don't know. There are a couple that are different. Like Ina said, I have a certain amount of range, can I extend it? And Willie asked a question about safety ratings on EVs. Are they any different? Those are kind of different types of questions.
Yeah, real quick, safety, for the most part, electric cars can vary on safety just like gasoline powered cars, but they usually have better than average safety ratings. But you know, so you could look at that. And you know, I know that cars, Tesla and General Motors and just about all of them I know, very few have low safety ratings. I don't know any that have very low safety ratings. One question was, can you increase the range of the car after you buy it? And the answer is no. It's going to come with a capacity, and it should last you for a long time. But that's why you should make a considered choice. You should do your homework and make sure you get the car with the right specifications of like range and stuff like that. How fast you can charge it, all that.
Okay, I'll let you guys respond in the chat. The last one that Jane says about some broken links on your guys' site to things people.
We'll check on the broken links, but Devin, we have adapted because very few car dealers right now are able to offer discounts because of the inventory. But
yeah,
do you want to answer that, Devin? You're muted.
Can you re-ask it for me? I was trying to find the slide.
It says here there are a couple of broken links on your Drive Green site to DG discounts. Is that because the discounts have ended?
Yeah, I think we only have one discount up right now, and that's for Quirk Chevy. They just posted prices for the Bolt EUV because those are the first cars to come off the stop sale that Chevy had since last year because of the battery issues that they've had. And we expect more of our Chevy dealers to get these cars up soon. But as of right now, inventory levels are still super low. And so it's still pre-ordering capability. I will check to see tomorrow if there's what those link issues are. But thank you for catching them.
And then on this pre-order question, there was a question in there, Larry, when people put money down, do they tend to get it back if they bail?
I have a friend who pre-ordered an Ioniq 5, and she put down $1,000, was told to wait several months. And then another dealer called her that she had talked to previously and offered her a better price by about $5,000. And so she's going to take the cheaper car. Technically, the dealer does not have to give that $1,000 back, but I don't know if she got it back. It's going to vary. That would be something everyone should pay attention to. I do know oftentimes the pre-order is refundable, but you just need to ask and make sure you get a piece of paperwork that shows you that. If you pre-ordered a car when there's less than 200,000 miles sold, and then by the time you get it, would you still get the tax rebate? That's another question in the chat. You have to take delivery in order to take the tax credit before it's announced that it's ineligible.
And so, just to go off of that, the federal tax credit doesn't just stop. It does have a phase out period. So while you might not get the full $7,500 or whatever that car qualifies for, you might still get something for the time being.
And then a question on the Chevy Bolt, will they continue building them?
They are. They just restarted, I think about a week ago, building more Chevy Bolts and a version of it called the EUV. And I think they're going to produce a bunch of those in the next several months. There is some speculation that Chevy might eventually discontinue the model, or at least de-emphasize it, because they have many more EVs of different shapes and sizes coming out.
So going from the very practical operational, Ina has a kind of a more philosophical question. Can you talk about the GHG emissions associated with the production of electric cars? Is it preferable to purchase a smaller car for a smaller carbon footprint, for example? Does size matter when it comes to EVs? And let me also, there was a bunch of questions about rear wheel drive, front wheel drive. And I think you had said, Devin, that the all wheel drive range is less just because it takes more energy to do that than a front wheel or a rear wheel. So I think, is that true? And why in the world would anyone make rear wheel drive? Someone else. So I'll let Larry maybe handle the first question on life cycle, and Devin or one of you jump on this all wheel, rear wheel, front wheel.
Yeah, all cars have an embedded amount of energy and greenhouse gas emissions associated with it. One of the biggest factors is where it's located and how clean the electricity is where they're making it. But an EV has a slightly bigger carbon footprint off the assembly line than a gasoline powered car, but that gets compensated for very quickly within a year or two of driving the car. And the more you drive the car relative to a gasoline powered car, the faster you're going to essentially pay back your carbon footprint. Over the life of the car, 10 or 15 years, it's a huge difference. It's in Massachusetts, where our electricity is relatively green. If you were to drive an electric car today, the emissions would be about 20% that of a gasoline powered car. And because we've got policies in place, the electric car will get close to almost zero emissions over its lifetime over the next 10 years, because we are increasing the renewable energy content in our mix. So that one's a pretty clear. Now, if you want to reduce your carbon footprint a bit, yes, obviously, if you got a smaller EV than a larger EV, that would accomplish something. But probably the most compelling factor is how many miles you're going to drive on it.
All right, Devin, you want to take this all wheel, rear wheel, front wheel questions?
Yeah, I don't know how much detail I can go into, but basically, a lot of the cars that we've seen on the market now are front wheel drive, not so much all wheel drive. And we've gotten a lot of questions about when will there be an all wheel drive vehicle. And then not so many are rear wheel drive, but in this presentation, there were quite a few. But basically, the energy it takes for all wheel drive or four wheel drive is more intensive because you're moving more parts with more gusto. And I'm not a mechanic, so I can't tell you the finer details. So it is less energy efficient than it would be if you just had rear wheel drive or front wheel drive.
Okay.
And just because I found the figures, I just wanted to point out that about 2 weeks ago, this math was done, when the Massachusetts average gallon of gas was $4.31, but the e-gallon equivalent was about $2.25. So you can see that there's a huge difference of about $2.
Yeah, if you could stick that on a slide to your deck, I think that would be helpful. And a bunch of people on this call are also, they're local community organizers, Larry, sending messages out. That feels like a pretty good headline to lead.
So that's, yeah, we'll link to the blog that we did. We could maybe even drop that into the chat, Devin. Let's see, another question was, sometimes Devin or I talk about an e-gallon or the miles per gallon equivalent. That's how we sort of compare the efficiency of an electric car to a gasoline powered car. But Doug was saying that he heard that the Ford Lightning pickup truck had a high miles per gallon equivalent, even better than the Prius, which is hard to believe. An EV is so much better for the environment, not just because we can run it on electricity that's cleaner than gasoline, but it's pretty astonishing how much more efficient it is to turn the wheels of a vehicle using an electric motor than it is to burn gasoline in an internal combustion engine. And so that's the major factor there that needs to be pointed out. What's even more compelling, okay, is I would not buy a pickup truck. I don't have a use for one. They're kind of fun to look at, I suppose, and to drive, but I don't need one. But for those who do need to drive or will just insist upon driving a pickup truck, the amount of petroleum that you'd be displacing with an electric pickup truck is a lot more than if you were to switch out of a passenger car that's gasoline powered to an electric passenger car. So not that we want to encourage people to buy pickup trucks, but if you see someone drive an electric pickup truck, you should pat them on the back.
Great. Were we going to end at 8, Shelley? Is that what was our end time?
Yes, I think 8 o'clock. Mm-hmm.
Right. So maybe you could just end on this note, Larry. There was a question here just about legislation from Karen in Acton. I know the incentives be enhanced with Barrett's new climate bill, rebate increased. Any thoughts on when the more EV timing or when it passes? Just sort of big picture, what you think is going to happen.
Yeah, we're following that pretty closely. I'll be in the State House on Thursday to lobby for the best provisions of the bill. The Senate bill right now does have $100 million in for extending the rebate. It's due to expire on June 30th of this year, and that would extend it for, that would be enough for about another 30,000 electric cars in Massachusetts. The rebates would be higher if you were low and moderate income. And instead of being a rebate that you'd have to wait 6 weeks to get the check, you would get it at the point of purchase, which is nice. So we like that provision. And there's also more charging infrastructure money in there as well. So it's a good bill.
All right, Shelley, you want to do
Yep.
final
Yep.
comments? Yeah.
Yeah, so this is great. We really appreciate Larry and Devin coming on and giving us this talk. It was really so informative and answering all the questions. And for all the participants, the questions you asked are all questions a lot of us, think about. So thanks for asking those questions and getting the answers. So thanks everybody for coming, and we really appreciate everyone's interest in EVs. We do want to see everyone go EV, so let's do it.
And shameless final plug, if you're a member of a Jewish congregation, we put the link and we'll send a follow-up. You can join the JCAN site and list that you have EVs on your to-do list. If you're Energize Acton, or you're in Harvard or Wayland or Lexington or Newton or Medfield, and then go to your Energize site. And if you're thinking about buying an electric car, put it on your to-do list. We're going to be monitoring those data. So when we see new things that we're particularly going to send them to people who say, yep, an EV is on my to-do list. So please do that. So thank you all. And thanks again to Larry and Devin. If you, if people have any final questions that we didn't get to, we'll try to sort these. And if there's anything else we want to ask these wonderful folks to put in a slide, we will do that. So happy purchasing, lots of options coming down the road. We may just have to wait a little bit for some of them. It feels like this next year will be a really interesting time. So happy driving.